Hey birds, Down Phoenix here, and this is A Good Day to Die Hard. No, really, it is. The game based on the movie A Good Day to Die Hard. But is this a good game to play? We're going to answer that question here very soon. This is the game based on the movie with Bruce Willis, and I don't know who that guy is. It's definitely not Bruce Willis. Apparently, it's Jai Courtney or Jai Courtney. It's Jai. I'm guessing Jay, because I don't know, Jai. I don't know. It's not really important. Anyways, the point is, this is a game based on the Die Hard franchise. And if we were to play a game based on the Die Hard franchise, would we rather want to play John McClane, the star of every Die Hard movie ever, or screw it, let's just play as his son? That's what the game developers apparently thought there. Let's just play as John McClane's son. Yeah, who cares about that? Why would we want to play as John McClane's son? Anyways, as you can see, this is an endless runner type game. You start from the very beginning, you get as far as you can, you die, and you start all over again. Along the way, you get to earn currency to buy various things like weapons, powers, skills, and all that good stuff. This stuff is supposed to help you get bigger scores and make it farther through the game. However, this is totally an arcade-style game. That means there is not going to be any kind of end to the game. You don't get to a point where you actually finish or beat the game. Now, I'm personally a fan of endless runner type games. I play some various ones like Temple Runner 2, Subway Surfers, just different ones. I'm really a big fan of the genre. Actually, one of my favorites is probably going to have to be Iron Man 3, the video game. Another movie-based endless runner game. Because the game is just really fast and beautiful and all this good stuff, Now, how's this game compare as an endless runner game? Well, first of all, I find that using an endless runner genre for the Die Hard franchise is a really questionable choice to begin with. I mean, if you want to make a mobile phone-based game, why not one where you just, I don't know, like maybe Dead Trigger or something like that. That would be a perfect style of gameplay for a Die Hard mobile phone game. Now, as far as the gameplay for a endless runner type game set in the Die Hard universe, this game does get it right as far as the base premise, because they didn't just imitate Temple Run and just made it platforming. They actually mixed it up with some shooting and some melee combat even, which was definitely wise on the decision of the developers. Now, that being said, I still kind of question this kind of genre for a Die Hard game, but it does work fairly well. Now, the controls aren't as responsive as I'd like to see, and that is unfortunate. But it's not a big failing in this case, because the game is certainly a slower paced endless runner in comparison to most. You don't just zoom by like you would in Subway Surfer, for example. So you don't need to have quite as responsive of controls. However, it does get to an issue later on when you have multiple enemies on screen and you're trying to take them all out. It gets a little tricky when the controls don't respond to the utmost. Now, you do get some various special abilities. Like on the left side of the screen, I have an ability that will slow down time, and that allows me to take out multiple targets at once. And then on the right side of the screen, that button allows me to switch to different weapons. Like, for instance, if I wanted to switch to an Uzi or a shotgun or a rifle or so on. This allows you additional firepower that the base pistol does not allow you to have. Now, those, of course, have limited quantities, though, so they're only recommended whenever you have a lot of enemies on the screen to deal with. Now, as far as the graphics for this game, they're not too bad. In comparison to some of the endless runners, they're pretty decent. However, the graphics design that they chose to do in the first place does outline a few critical flaws. For instance, one of my main pet peeves, seeing low-res textures right next to nice high-res textures. That is just a big pet peeve of mine. Either just do all low-res, all high-res, try to keep it consistent, because that helps to the visual design. Obviously, higher res textures would look much nicer, but if you cannot afford the graphical resources because you're trying to port this down to smaller mobile devices, weaker mobile devices, then don't even try. Just let it be like that. Games like Temple Run look pretty good despite their lower end graphics, because they just have great art design and things like that. That's one other problem with this game. The art design's really basic. I mean, this game pretty much looks like it's got a really dark, gritty look, kind of like like an older PlayStation 2 title or something like that. It doesn't really have very much graphical flair. The HUD is really plain. They definitely could have done a lot better with it, but it's not bad. It's passable, on that regard. But if you want a good endless runner graphically, I would definitely recommend something like Iron Man 3, which, that's a fantastic game to play. Now, as far as the sound and music, terrible. Just absolutely terrible in this game. I don't know if the developer is just like, well, we can't get anybody to do the music. I guess I'm just going to hack away at the freaking Casio keyboard. That's pretty much what it sounds like. Just terrible. I mean, obviously they didn't use any sound or music from the movies. I'm sure I can understand why. Probably some budget constraints and things like that. But still, it's just disappointing to see. Now, one other thing I'd like to talk about, though, is like the currency system, because a lot of things with mobile games are, a lot of these games are free to play. But they try to get you to give them money through microtransactions, purchasing various things in the game. That's how they make their money. And, of course, sometimes advertises as well. The advertisements aren't too bad in this game. They're reasonable. They're not anything that's insane. It's pretty much the standard that you'd see from something like Angry Birds or something like that. So it's pretty decent. As far as the microtransactions and things like that, they can be a little pricey. Not a big surprise. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that'll sell these things for obscene amounts of money. However, it does seem like, at least from my play experience, that the level of unlocking rewards and things like that is pretty well balanced. I never felt a point in the game where I felt I wasn't making any progress towards unlocking new items and abilities and so on. Especially as I got better at playing the game. I got used to the mechanics and things like that. So this is a pretty well-balanced game if you're looking for a solid free-to-play type game that doesn't require a significant investment, or any investment at all, for that matter. So, what's my final thoughts on Die Hard? A Good Day to Die Hard, the mobile video game that nobody asked for. Well, overall, it's above average, I guess, as far as a mobile phone game goes. It could be a little more responsive, and the graphics, of course, are a little weak sauce in comparison to some out there. But the gameplay is pretty solid, and the game definitely doesn't jerk you along as you're playing. You actually can have a fun time with this. Overall, I'm going to have to give this game a 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. Try the game out for yourselves, and leave me a comment on what you think about this game. Till then, Down Phoenix out. Activated.
Disney's journey into modern times.